she was like, I see her everywhere. And I was just like, yes, this is what it's all about. I'm Courtney and I live in Chicago. My earliest bike memory is not the most positive, but it gives my family a laugh. I don't think it's so funny, but when my mom and I had an aunt and uncle there, they were teaching me how to ride a bike. It was my first time on a bike and I ended up falling into a ditch. And everyone thinks it's hilarious. I don't, but it's just a memory that I have. A more positive memory is just like riding around the neighborhood with my friends just for hours, just riding around, going to different places. Yeah, I grew up where riding a bike was more of a recreational or fun thing. And now my bike is my main form of transportation. I do not own a car. I've had my bike for about going on 4 years now, and I have ridden close to 15,000 miles. Yeah, so that's my car, essentially. Honestly, it's just practicality. It's like, do I want to spend, for example, I live 10 minutes away from my job by bike. It takes me 10 minutes alone just to walk to the train station. If I wanted to take the train, then I would have to wait for the train, and then I would still have to walk from the train station to my job. So just practicality wise, it just makes sense to take the bike. I think you can bike in most weather here in Chicago. I mean, even the rain, as long as it's not pouring down on you and you can't see. I've ridden in all types of weather. Winter tires is essential to riding in the winter. Like, in the cold weather, you don't need as much as you think. Like, a coat is helpful if it's really cold, but I often find that when I get to my destination, I'm pretty hot. So you will warm up as you go. A really good pair of boots is essential, and a rechargeable hand warmer for your gloves. I feel like I'm still working my way through this particular challenge, but when people see a Black person, a person they perceived to be a woman on a bike, they're like, oh, you're an easy target. I can harass you and no one will care. No one will come to your defense. So that's like the biggest challenge I face here in Chicago, just like aggressive drivers, people that don't respect your right to be on the road, and people who perceive that because you're on a bike, you're lesser than. And then you add in being Black and people, like, oh, there's a woman. So two kind of dings against you. Yeah, so the challenge I'm working through is to like not lose my cool as much. To be honest, like, so many things happen and I see so many like, oh, this could easily have not happened if we would have had X, Y, Z, this sort of infrastructure. Here in Chicago, we're lucky to have a grid, and that makes getting around pretty easy. It can be fairly intuitive once you get it down. And with the grid, I think there are opportunities to make our side streets safer. A lot of times people will take the residential roads as a way to kind of avoid traffic on the larger streets that get backed up. And so if we put infrastructure in place that would limit the amount of drivers that can take those residential streets who want to like speed through, that will be a huge boost for cyclist safety and people's comfort level. I think it's just those tiny moments when you're passing each other on the street. It's like a nod, it's a wave. I see you, you look good, because I like to ride around with my music playing, and it's a safety measure, but it's also a fun thing for me to kind of see how people react to it. And so sometimes people are like, hey, what are you playing? Or like, yeah, so I love moments like that. I think the first thing there would need to be a perception change of a bike. And we would have to change our perceptions around success, our definitions of success. Because a lot of times when I'm riding in like majority Black neighborhoods, people are like, that's why you're on a bike, as if, it's a bad thing to be on a bike. And I think we need to start seeing the fact that majority Black neighborhoods tend to be areas that have the highest rate of pedestrian and even cyclist fatalities and injuries as like an injustice to our communities. And by giving people safe and dignified alternatives to get around, I think you can do a lot for communities in terms of health benefits, financially, if you give people a choice. Because if you look at what the average car payment is, you add in insurance, and the fact that we have designed cities to where people have to rely on a car just to do basic things, we need to start seeing that as an injustice. One day I want to read a headline that says like 40% of Chicagoans use a bike for transportation. 90% of Chicagoans live within half a mile of a safe bike route. 70% of kids are using a bike or walking to get to school. Those are the things I want to read, and I think that they're achievable. When I think of bike girl magic, I just think of the power that Black women have when they get on a bike. Because a lot of times we are not the target demographic. No one's really putting out a bunch of bicycle ads specifically for Black women. But I remember going into a Target one day with my bike, and there was a Black woman security guard, and she was like, "That's you?" And yeah, she was just like amazed by my bike. And I love that moment. And I was just like, we really are an untapped market. I was biking past a Target one day, and I heard someone go, I'm pretty sure it was a woman. She was like, "I see her everywhere." And I was just like, yes, this is what it's all about. And you really do become recognizable because you're not shielded by this big metal box. People can see you. And because you're on a bike, you already stand out. But then say you're wearing a colorful outfit or you're playing your music or whatever, and it's like people get to know you. So the fact that like me just doing my everyday thing and someone I don't even know, but they recognize me, they were like, "I see her everywhere. She gets around." Definitely, speak up when the issue of biking comes up, or maybe it's not even coming up where you live, but let the people that run city council know that you want safe bike infrastructure, why it matters to you. They need to hear from you, and you would be amazed at just how few people can make a difference. Like you and 15 of your friends, and then that person tells someone, and that person tells someone, we can make a lot of noise and we can make change.